Now, hello guys. Today I'll be interviewing Ron Balicki. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Just an honor to actually meet you because I saw one of your video and it helped me to do my martial arts and kung fu. Could you introduce to yourself to the audience, please?
I'm Ron Balicki, martial artist. I train in Filipino martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, Silat, Thai boxing, shoot wrestling, a few other things.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I would like to say, what make you interested in kung fu and or in martial arts?
Oh God, I mean, when I was a boy, the whole Bruce Lee craze. I think uh, I just I liked it. I mean, everything about martial arts that I had seen that was coming up, it was just new back then. You got to understand now. There are schools almost on every corner. When I was a kid, there was nothing. I'm 54 years old now, and back then, you'd be hard pressed to find one school. So, with the whole advent of Bruce Lee, I just got addicted. I sought it out and figured out where to go, and just stuck with it ever since.
Thank you so much. Why did you write G Kune Do, the principle of complete fighter?
Uh, it's really funny. Everybody has a book out. I mean, not everybody, but I mean everybody in my circle, and I kind of resisted it for a while. But I had some questions that I thought I had answers to that I hadn't seen in a book, so I figured I would write it. And I did really well with the book. The publisher asked me, "Do you want to do another one?" Because we were doing so well. And at the time I had said no because I thought I got out everything I wanted to say, and I did. I didn't want to just put something out for the sake of having a book out. So I had left it at that. And it's funny because now lately I'm getting ready. I'm thinking about doing another book because I've got something else to say. So I just kind of didn't. I didn't want to put out stuff that just for the sake of having a book out. I wanted to have something that might be poignant that somebody might be able to chew on and digest, and a different point of view.
Right. What can we get out of the book if the viewer or listener would take out of it if they choose to buy the book?
One of the things that I think I talk about is it's more conceptual. Obviously, when you see it, it's not just Jeet Kune Do techniques. What I went after is what I feel is the concept, and the one thing with Jeet Kune Do that I feel that wasn't said for that book is that I think most systems, most arts look at what they excel in and try to like polish that. I think for the way, at least the way that I'm taught through Sifu Dan Inosanto, is you look for the frailty in you, or you look for something that's not polished, or a thing you don't feel so comfortable with, and you try to excel at that and bring that up to a level of understanding and I guess just being sufficient at it.
Right. Thank you so much. How did when you speak bring up Dan Inosanto, how did you met him
Oh,
through?
how did I meet him?
Yeah.
I it's funny when I was a kid, I was a Bruce Lee nut, like I've already stated. I grew up in Chicago. He was in California, and I just every time excuse me, it's morning. I'm still every time that I've read anything about Bruce Lee, I've always seen this man Inosanto next to him, and so I just kept going. Well, he passed. He's gone. Where could I learn this at? So I ended up figuring out where the Inosanto Academy was, and I called it up. And I was lucky enough to speak to him briefly, and it's pretty hard to get this man on the phone now. And he told me that he does travel and he does teach. So he was coming into Chicago, and he told me where he was going to be. I ended up going there. I ended up joining the school that he went to, and he would come in and he would teach. And I just started to find out that he taught in certain near neighboring states, and I would run to Michigan or Indiana or Iowa or Ohio or wherever he was at, and I would go do a weekend seminar with him. And I ended up getting a lot of time in. You'd be surprised. Like you think about this, the average person who goes to a martial art class might go 1 or 2 times a week for an hour to 2 hours. So that's anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a week. I was probably hitting an Inosanto seminar once or twice a month. And he would teach for 8 hours each day then. And, I got to know him. He started to like me, and I started to get a lot of extra private time with him just working out. And it got to the point where I would let him know, hey, I'm going to be in this state. And he's great. And then we'd train. I mean, there were times when we were hanging out in his hotel room working out all night, and we're like, Jesus, we better go get some rest. We got a seminar in a couple hours. So I got a lot of time in with this man. And I did this for years and years and years. I ended up becoming a deputy sheriff. And when I was on the sheriff's department, I would work a lot of overtime just to be able to have those hours. And I wouldn't take the pay. I would take the time off. So I was taking a lot of time off and just either shooting out to California or meeting him on seminar wherever he was, and just getting as much time in martial art training as I could with him.
Right. Thank you so much for that. As I listen to your story, how can a martial artist or a kung fu person can sustain himself for a long period of time in practicing? Like, I remember back in the day of me practicing martial arts or kung fu, I couldn't sustain it. I would get burned out. How would we be able to keep it for like our passion for or dedicated training for a long time?
For me, well, there was a couple different ways I could answer this. For one, there's burnout, like you said, or there's injury that prevent a lot of people from doing it. And as far as burnout, I try to vary my workouts. I'll get something and I'll drill it, and work it, and then I'll drift away from it a little bit, and I'll try to go into some other area that will interest me, and then eventually come back to that other area. I found that I'm on about a 3-year cycle between everything I do, meaning I'll get into one heavy thing. Not that I don't touch the other stuff at all, but I'll get into one heavy thing and I'll really work it. And I start to drift into another area, until I go full circle and I get back to that one area. And, every time I look at that area and you think you know everything about it, it's funny when you walk away from something, I'm sure you've seen it, but you look at something with new eyes again, you're like, oh my God, there it is. And that'll interest me again. And then the other area I find that people train and they get injured, and so they leave what they do, and we're all going to get injured. This isn't ballet, it's you're taking damage, and you just got to train smart. When I was ring fighting, I trained with a lot of guys and like, go harder, come on, in the training, and they're always injured the day of the fight. So what I try to do is not that I wouldn't go hard, but I tried to train smart to where I could have longevity in this. And I have my aches and pains today, but I still, I've managed to be able to recoup and keep going. And then when I am injured, I mean, I've had a broken limbs at time. I broke a leg, and it's funny. My foot was, my shin was broken. So I'd bend the knee and I'd put it on like a weight bench. I'd glove up, and I would be standing on one foot, the other knee would be resting on the weight bench, and I would just pivot around it and spar people. They'd have to kind of stay in with me, but I got my time and grade in with it. I was still working it. Or I'd have them hold focus for minutes for me while I was doing that. There's always a way. And, I've had students who have, MS and stuff like that, and they could barely walk. We'd prop them against the wall or put them on the ground, and we'd work what they could do. There's no reason to stop. I mean, everybody has a handicap. My joke is even Tiger Woods has a handicap. It's like there's always something, and you could always take the easy way out. But if you really, really want something, you're going to stick with it. You're going to do it.
So, right. Thank you so much for that. I was thinking about, there's I noticed because I think that as you are wiser, as you age, because I was watching one of your video, like a short clip, and you were talking about age, but you get more wisdom, right? You see different life differently, right? And a lot of younger folks, I'm more like an open-minded type of guy, because have you ever heard of like self-help, personal development stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I have seen a lot of people, right, always batch on other system, and I'm curious, why is that? Like, why can't we accept like every system is unique, but why is it like we think that it's our like, let's say we practice a certain way and we think like this a certain way. Why is it like that?
Wait, I'm not sure if I understand the question. Could you rephrase it again?
So my question is, why is it that we hate on other system, but why can't we be more open minded to other system,
Oh,
right?
okay. I think I got the gist of it. You know, it's like basketball or football. Like we seen the Super Bowl yesterday, right? You're going to have one team rooting for the other. It depends on your demographics, where you're brought up, what you're introduced to. You know, it's all prejudice and bias after a while. And that's, again, the beauty of someone like, Dan Inosanto is he, his whole view, and I've really tried to adopt that, is, I don't want to be just a big fish in a little pond. I'd rather look at what everybody else is doing. You look for the, like I said, it goes back to my original first answer that you asked me, is I look for the weakness in me. And if I just stuck, let's say I just stuck with what Bruce Lee himself did, and I stick with Jeet Kune Do and just that, I think today you would be taken out pretty simple. And it's not to say that Bruce Lee wasn't super efficient in what he did. It's just things have evolved. Picture if he had lived. You think he would have stopped growing? Oh, this is all I got, and we're going to stay there. He continued to grow. And how do you grow? Is by looking at new things. Picture if the Model A Ford or the Model T never progressed, and we're still driving that car with the steering wheel up here, and no air conditioning and no power windows and just an open cabin in it, and a rumble seat in the back if we're lucky, and picture going across country with your family. And today, if we'd never progressed, everything progresses. I mean, think of where airplanes have gone in the last 50 years, just 50 years, and it's been around longer than that. I always used to listen to my grandparents, and they said, God, we went from the horse and buggy age to the rocket age. And that's by looking at other ideas and accepting other systems. I live in California. Everybody surfs here. Okay. Think about old time surfing. A lot of people who did it were big, bulky guys. Part of the reason, they had to carry 100-pound block of wood, and that's what surfboards weighed back then, into the water to go surf. But then came companies like Boeing and Rocketdyne out here in California, and they started messing with all these new polymers and foams and resins and fiberglass and carbon fiber, and all of a sudden now we got surfboards that probably weigh 20 pounds, if that. It's just things evolve, and if you just stay with your system, you're not going to evolve. You'll see something, it's great, and I'm not saying that you should give up your system and do others. There's a lot in G Kune Do I still don't fully understand, but I know right now, if I got in a ring with some really, really good jiu-jitsu guy or even judo guy, and if I'm not exploring what they do, I'm going to get my butt handed to me. So I've got to look. Again, we're in football. Think of like a football game, and this would be cheating, but you had access to their playbook. Now, are you going to not look at that playbook? If you can have like a foresight onto what might come, you're going to look at it. You need to look at it. That's why they make training camps so secretive, because there's always going to be prying eyes. Right now, my wife, I don't know if you've seen it, but she's in the middle of producing a movie with Mark Gordon, who produced Saving Private Ryan with Steven Spielberg. And they're talking about her father's time with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if you know this story or not, if you got to look at it, but he was the secret weapon. They were sneaking Dan Inosanto into the Dallas Cowboy training camp in the mid 70s, before Dallas became America's team, and he was teaching them how to use martial arts on the field, and they got to the Super Bowl and they won it. And
Wow.
Almost everyone that we've talked to, Randy White, Bob Ward, the conditioning coach, you got Mike Ditka, the assistant coach back then, Roger Staubach. A lot of players, and they're all saying he was that ingredient. He was the spice in the new recipe that they put that got them there. So, you got to look at different things. And if you just look at what you do and what nobody else does, you're going to be a big fish in a little pond.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been like trying to, cause my thing is trying to like teach people to be more open minded. Cause there's a lot. Let's say you know how like artists like Japanese or people who draws, um they only study their craft, right? But they never study other like skill set. That's what I want to like tell them, that you need other skill set to be able to become more successful, like selling or marketing, whatever that is, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, to be you have to have like you have to be eclectic to things, right? That's why I've been trying to tell people. And thank you so much for telling me the story about that. I remember I was watching one of your video, right? And I was learning how to because you also incorporate the form. You said that Bruce Lee. I remember you told me like Bruce Lee did take out the form, but you put it in the form again. You still do the form, right? You put
Yeah.
it.
All right. Think of this. All right. That it's actually a great question because they're like, oh, Bruce Lee was anti-form. Later he said you don't need form. He felt. But think of this. All right. Let's just say you don't need the alphabet. All right, anymore, or you're past like practicing how to write your alphabet. Okay. But then you have a new student and you're going write, and they're like, well, write what? Write that. I mean, you have to teach. They have to have substance. I don't know if that's a great analogy or not, but I mean, people need it. Like the way Dan Inosanto talks about Bruce Lee is he was the best man he ever met. He understood it. That's in him. You can't take it out of him. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but once it's in you, it's in you. It's like a Dick and Jane book. I could go, hey man, I got this awesome book. I want you to read it. It's Dick and Jane. And you're like, what? And you're like, see Dick, run, Dick, see Spot, and you're like, kind of past this. But there's a time where that was like some compelling reading, maybe to a 4-year-old, right? But they needed to chew on that before they could get to War and Peace. If I gave that to my 4-year-old, he'd be like, what? I can't read this. So there's a time where you need form, and you need, you know after you get that down, then maybe you could divorce yourself from it and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm kind of past that. But there's a lot of lessons within it, and for those who don't use it, they're going to lose. I used to teach some Aikido people, and I love Aikido. I'm not putting it down, and not even at all putting it down. I think it's an amazing art. But they were like, in their mind, they wanted to be like Morai Yeshiba. I don't know if you know Yeshiba is the founder of Aikido, but he's written books like Abundant Peace, or there are books written about him, and it talks about not fighting and becoming this higher thing, but they want to be combat effective without ever tasting what it's like to be under fire. And I'm like, because they read Abundant Peace, and Morai Shiba was anti-fighting. But what they don't understand, if you look at the history of Morai Shiba, he was a little ass kicker. He fought a lot when he was young. He was a small man. He was picked on. And he went to blows a lot. And then he outgrew that and said, I don't need this anymore. But he tasted it and he knew what it was like. And you've got to have that to grow.
Okay, thank you. And I was thinking about, because every time I remember, have you heard of the system of Hanfut system?
No, what's the name of that? Fun foot?
Hanfut system.
Oh,
It's
Hunfoot. No, I'm not.
it's a form of it's a combination of Hungar and Futgar, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, but it have the form, they're based on left hand style, but they incorporated the animal system. But I noticed that most of the people, like I said, I believe that I agree with what you said, that form are important. But the thing is, most schools only teach you the form, but they don't teach you how to incorporate the technique, right? Because I was looking on the video of Danny Inosanto, where he was like, "How come we don't teach you like how Bruce tell you? How come you don't teach how to use the technique instead of doing the form?"
Right. No, yeah, I agree. A lot of schools don't. I really truly think a lot of the people who are teaching don't understand what they're doing. They're just doing it kind of like almost as if it's just dance to them without a practical knowledge. One of my best lessons with Inosanto was I was in Chicago. He was there for a seminar. he said, "Hey, I'm going to go to this." I think we went to a Choi Foot school, and no, it wasn't Choi Foot. God, I forgot which system we went to look at, but I remember I was just getting close with him back then. I was still young, so I drove him over there, and we went in and we sat down, and we watched. It had to be over 3 hours of class, and he just sat and he watched, and this man did his thing, and I was young and stupid. I'm going to say it right now, and I was kind of looking at it, going, "God, this guy's not that great," and I was like, you know, and I just knew what in the level Inosanto was at, and I'm thinking, this guy's here and Inosanto's there. Why are we doing this? And my father-in-law just sat there and watched and watched and watched. And at the end of the class, the man came up. He was so excited that Dan Inosanto was there watching his class, and he shook. And he's like, "Wow, that was amazing." And he's like, "Ron, wasn't that great? That was awesome." And I'm like going, "Oh yeah, that was great." And I'm trying to be pleasant, I'm trying to be nice, but in my mind, I'm thinking, this guy is horrible. And when we left there, I kind of like, I could kind of speak my opinion sometimes way too much. And I said, "God, I wasn't that impressed. You were just being nice." And he goes, "Let me show you something." And he started to show me some technique. And he goes, "That's what that guy was doing. That's what I seen, what he had going on in there." And it was a big lesson to me, because I thought what I was looking at, I was almost like not looking at it anymore, because I just thought, I'm not going to learn anything from this. But he was sitting there chewing on it and deciphering everything that this man was doing. And he pulled out some gems out of there, and he showed me what the man was showing. And I remember my father-in-law saying, regardless if he knew what he was doing or not, he was doing it. And he seen something that gave my father-in-law value, so my father-in-law gave him his time. And the one thing, if you knew who Dan Inosanto is, time is everything to him. He's on a race with time. He's like, we're all getting older. I don't want to waste my time. If the system's good, I'm going to watch. I'm going to spend my time. But he will give it a fair, honest look. He does it with every system. He's doing some systems now. Some people have questioned me about, and I'm not going to name the systems because I think they're good things. I don't want to put anybody down. But some people go, "Ron, why is Dan Inosanto doing that? That's the system's blah," and he will research. If he sees one thing in there that he thinks might be good, he's going to research that whole thing, because if he gets two things, he goes, "That's mine. I'll walk away." Does he like everything in every system? No. Does he think like systems have? I think every system has something of value, even if they're doing it wrong. They're teaching you how not to do it. Then, in your eyes, and it's all subjective. If you and I were in a room and we're working out, I might like certain things and you're going to like them. It doesn't mean you're right or I'm wrong. If I have a 100-pound woman in my class and she's going against a 250-pound man, and I tell her, "I want you to pick this guy up and put him over your head and throw him to the ground," that's not feasible for her. It might be for him because he's 250, she's 100 pounds. But if I looked at that 100-pound woman, I said, "I want you to jump up and do like a 320 or a 480, she might be able to spin and kick like that." And I go to that guy, "You do it." And he's like, "I could barely kick, 90 degrees. So, everything is subjective to your personality, to your physical structure, to just your likes, and you got to be able to like pick and choose what's right for you. It's martial arts. And it's people go, "Martial, what's martial?" It's like military. Arts, what art? Art's self-expression. We could all go and try to copy a Monet painting, but we're not going to get $1 million for it. We're just doing an imitation of that thing. We got to make the art our own. So like you were saying, earlier about, being open-minded. If you took in Picasso, Monet, Toulouse-Lautrec, Renoir, Dali, and if you had a way of mashing and melding it, you might become the next Elvis Presley or the next Led Zeppelin of music, or you might become the next Bruce Lee or Anderson Silva of martial arts. You just got to be able to put the game together your way, do it your way. And the number one thing you got to know is people are going to put you down for it, no matter what it is. You know, you're always going to make somebody unsatisfied with what you're doing, but you got to do what's right for you. You know, just
Right.
do your thing.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's how I believe that, it's perception, it's how we see things, right? And if we it's like what you said, it's like when we keep doing the same thing, but once you always, it's like reading a book. You read the whole book, right? But you think that you know the book, and you read it. But once you reread again, you was like with new open eyes. And I think that's what happened with people, is that sometimes they're too close to the either the system, or either the knowledge. They never took the time to step back and zoom out and to examine it, right? And then I
Mhm.
think that's what happened about how people view life, because they're like too close. I would like to know what, for me and for everybody else who's starting, what is Jeet Kune Do, and what is the principle and philosophy of JKD?
I think the principle and philosophy for me is, again, to look for the weakness within yourself and make it stronger. You know, instead of just always looking, like playing the game with what you're comfortable in. It's like getting in that ice cold bath, and not feeling good with what you're doing, and being able to acclimate and progress. That's Jeet Kune Do for me. Jeet Kune Do is, to me, it's a thing for life. It's just, it translates more than just martial arts. It could go into everyday life. It's like, let me pick the path in a way of least resistance, but is it going to bring me to my goal? And am I going to suffer a consequence by going that least resistance? Because then it's not the least resistance if I'm going to end up suffering for it later. You got to figure out the best path and the most efficient way. And that goes in with martial art and your training itself. Again, when I was training, those guys that were saying harder, 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 and they're all damaged fight day. I sometimes said, you know what? This last couple weeks, I'm not sparring. I'm drilling. I'm going to bring myself to that brink. I'm going to work my cardio, and then I'm going to rest my body efficiently for game day. And I had fought under the same fight card with one man, and the day before the fight, he's in there drilling and working really hard. And I'm like, you should be resting, dude. And bam, he gets hit in the nose, accidentally, broken nose. So here, fight day, you know what happens, your eyes and your nose and everything. So now they're trying to get all the swelling down. So they had to go into the fight, and they had to put makeup all over him so he didn't have black and blue. Because I'll be honest, if I were fighting you and you came in, your nose and your eyes were all black and blue, guess what the target for me is going to be? I am going to open that up and make it horrible. So now he's got to try to disguise that so he can fight. And then the whole fight, I'm watching him fight. He's trying to protect his face more than anything because he didn't want to get that shot in the face to wake up that wound. So you just got to play the game smart. And a lot of people don't.
Okay, thank you so much. What is your definition of winning?
Winning. um, God, I don't know. The
I can
first
give
thought
you.
that came.
Sorry,
The,
I can give you an example of it winning, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
okay, the first thought that came into mind is you could win the battle but lose the war. So it doesn't mean just because you won that one fight, you've won. You won the battle, or just because you lost the fight. Think about this too. All right, if we're talking about a ring situation, you get to raise your hand. That's great, but that's a ring situation. That's not. It's a game. It's a sport there. And you won for the day, and it doesn't mean that you're gonna win everything. It's I think winning for me is being able. Right now I'm winning. I'm still training. I'm still happy. I'm still motivated with this. Um, I think when you lose, if I lose, I would lose this art. I would not be able to train anymore. That would hurt me. That would I would feel defeat. I'm getting older. Maybe I don't punch as fast anymore. I don't kick as fast anymore. Maybe I'm not as fast anymore. Maybe I'm come injury still, but I'm still doing it. I want to think of this. you're growing, you're growing, you're growing, and then you get old, right? I want to grow, 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 and slowly lose that. That's my goal, and that will make me win at the game that I'm playing, or at least the way I'm playing the game. Yeah,
Right.
so to me, that's winning. I'm not sure if I answered that question or not.
No, it's okay. Thank you so much. No, because what happened is a lot of society, or as you seen it, as when you see society how it is, right? They project, because the reason why I interview a lot of authors, best-selling authors, and top entrepreneurs. They have different definition of winning, because uh like society wants you to accumulate a lot of things, and they think that that's your winning.
Yeah,
But winning make, like you said, winning make what make you happy, right? You do what you love to do, and it make you happy. That's winning for you, right? And that's really successful to you, right? And that's why I don't do you see a lot, right? How like a lot of people project how winning and success onto you. You see it, right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
it's
yeah.
it's really funny because you made me think. That saying is, "He who dies with the most toys wins." And I don't really go by that. I mean, we all need money to survive. Some people want to accumulate mass and keep it, and it's great to have a nest egg, and everyone should. But you don't need that much of it. I need, like, if we're doing a monetary thing, I like money to come in and go through me and on. As long as that cycle and circle keeps going, I could keep doing the things that I want to do and keep winning at my game. Um, my whole goal is not just to get a monetary thing. I want to be able to just get enough to feed my family and support myself, and do the things I want, and then well, actually, to do the things I want. That's the whole goal. Is I want to live my life. I don't want to die rich. You know, so
Right.
for me,
Thank you
that's what.
so much for that. Okay. What is your passion in life, and what do you love to do? As we said, like that's yeah.
I'm I love to do my martial arts. I'm doing martial arts. I do a lot of film work. I've been right now. I'm getting ready to leave for the Philippines again to go. I'm working on a TV series out there. Uh, I I I like film work, but even my film work relates back to martial arts because that's why I'm there mainly. I'm second unit directing, so that means I'm putting together fight scenes and I'm thinking all that stuff out. So for me, a great day is being able to take a lesson from somebody and learn something, a new art, and then work out. Spend time with my family, my kids, and just you know that's my day.
You're a family man, right?
Yeah, I have two boys.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you. When you were learning, oh, okay, this one I want to get to people who are just beginning in martial arts or kung fu, or whatever system they're going to. When you were learning kung fu or martial art, did you have any fear or doubt, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, fear and doubt every day. I mean, I think that's part of it. I'm that guy who runs towards fear. I always have. I think I'm an adrenaline junkie. Everything from like being in the police department to martial arts. Everything I've done. The you're always like. I think that it's a normal, basic human emotion that we need to embrace, and there are a lot of facets to fear. If you think about this, there are books out on this. On there's fear of pain. There's fear of delivering pain. There's fear of retribution. There's fear of being ostracized. There's so many facets. There's fear of legal authority. What happens if I hurt somebody? So you got to like study it and figure out why you're doing it and why you're attracted to these things. And I love overcoming fear. I love going, oh man, I'm not sure how this is going to work out. And like you're in a self-help, Anthony Robbins, stretching. He always talks about stretching, going for something that you don't think you could quite get. And there's a fear there. You just got to embrace it and go for it. And you want to weigh out your options and not just, I don't want to say, hey, I'm going to jump off this building. I wonder if I'll die today or not. And I have jumped off buildings and doing stunt work, but I want to make sure that the airbags there, and that I'll have something to land in, and I'll practice it, and I'll do it at a certain height and a certain height and a certain height, and I'll go, okay, I'm comfortable here, and then they'll say, well, can you do there? And I'll go, oh, I don't know. and then I'll embrace that fear, and I'll let common sense come in and say, that's past my skill set, or I'll say, I think I got that, and I do it. And it's funny because, speaking of high falls, because I do them, I do fire burns too, and I've been there sometimes, like on a high fall, and I'll be nervous until they roll camera, and then I'll go, all right, I committed, I got to do this, so I'm going to do it. And it's the same thing when I've gotten in the ring and I've fought. Is you're gonna be in fear, and I think that if you're not, you're opening yourself up for disaster. Because if you're underestimating whatever task you're taking on, you're opening yourself up to bad things to happen. So fear will drive you. It'll keep you safe. It's God gave it to us for a reason, and I'm just gonna kind of embrace that and use that fear to my advantage.
Right. Thank you so much. There's two because I just noticed what you were saying. Yeah, that's what I always I tell people all the time to go toward fear because they'll learn something. They give you more insight. Because as I move towards my fear, I gain something greater, not just the experience, but more of a knowing that I can overcome it. Like for this interview, I was actually scared, right? Even though I follow up so many times, right? I remember I was like, oh God, like, did I mess up? Like, did I mess up the car because I accidentally hit the button by accident? And I was like, oh crap, I got scared, but I keep going, right? And
Yeah.
that's how yeah. And the amazing thing that most people, like, I tell them, like, because have you ever heard of the term of law of attraction or whatever that is? The secret.
Sure.
Right,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I try to help them out and saying, like, not a lot of people like it, but it's about believing in what you do and be sold on you, but you got to take the action and face your fear and don't back away until you actually stick to it, right? And you accomplish, and that's what my philosophy is. And also the second, how because you were talking about Anthony Robbins, how you know about Anthony Robbins?
Oh, I've studied them for years. I've studied them for, I mean, geez,
What?
since probably over 30 years. I remember when I had his audio cassettes, and I've gone and seen him. I've done the fire walk. My wife and I are very much into Anthony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, a lot of self-help people that I look at. Yeah.
So wait, so who else do you know? I'm kind of curious because I'm into self-help too, and I was like, well, any like Napoleon Hill or any all those Les Browns or all those people?
I know some of them. We get into a lot of it, but uh, it's again, it's all subjective. I've had some guys that I really relate to, some that I'm kind of about, but no, Anthony Robbins probably one of my favorites. And like I said, Diana and I, we've gone to we've gone to his gatherings and stuff that he does. I walked the hot coals and stuff like that. It was a blast. It's cool.
How did you experience it? Like when you walk, like did you walk slow or like did it burn? How did it feel?
You
Like
know,
what's the
you,
experience?
um, I didn't walk slow. You walk brisk, and you're not gonna. It's a burning hot coal. You're not gonna stand on it and just stay there, But I didn't run it. I seen some people start to take off, and it seemed like the people who were racing got a little singed. So you kind of just get your pace going and you just do it, And in my mind, I kind of thought of like, all right, I've done fire burns. I could do this, It was a little different because you're thinking fire burn, you got protective equipment on, but with that, it's nothing. But it was awesome. I mean, the high of it at the end, and the cool part, I remember there was a woman next to us who was freaking out. She didn't want to do it at all, and Diana and I were there, and we kind of just got to know her right there in a line. We got to know her, waiting to go through it, and just talking to her. And I was talking to her about like fire burns and what I've experienced and what I do, and I just started talking about, look at all these people, and there were 1,000 people there. I go, every one of them, not every one of them, all the ones in front of us have gotten across. Look at the smile on their face. They're rocking this. You got this. You could do this. If they could do it, you could do it. We went through that whole thing, and we got through it. I loved it. It was cool. Yeah, I'm an Anthony Robbins freak. I really liked him that a lot.
So like, what do you what can you take away from Anthony Robbins, or what did you learn from him and that you apply in your life?
Okay, here's my favorite Anthony Robbins story, and you probably heard it. Do you know the Mahatma Gandhi story with the diabetic boy?
Mm-mm. No, 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 no.
Okay, I'm sure some people out there will know this one. Is there was a woman, her son was diabetic, and he kept eating sugar, and she was scared he was going to die. So she got on a train with him, and I don't know if you know anything about India and trains and how hard it is to get on one, and like a lot of people were on the roofs of them and everything. But she had to travel. I think it was like a 2 day journey across Delhi or something to go see Gandhi. So she got her son, took him on the train. She 2 days waited a day long, got in front of Gandhi, and she went up to him. She said, Mahatma, she said, this is my son. He loves you very much. He's diabetic and he keeps eating sugar and he won't listen to me. And I know he'll listen to you. Please tell him stop eating sugar. And he said, ma'am, come back in 1 week. And she was, no, I don't know if you understand it, but I traveled 2 days on a train. I waited 1 day. I don't have a lot of money. We have to go back home. And he goes, ma'am, you come back 1 week. She said, okay, Mahatma. So she left. So she took that 2 day journey home. She spent like a day or two home, got back on the train 2 days, waited in line a day long again. She got back in front of Gandhi with her son. And she said, Mahatma, I don't know if you remember. He goes, yes, yes, I remember you. So he looked at her son. He goes, stop eating sugar. She goes, what? That's it? You could have said that last week. And he goes, ma'am, a week ago, I was still eating sugar. I don't know if you get that, but he's not going to preach what he doesn't practice. So, and I love that answer is if you're going to tell somebody do something, you better be able to do it yourself, or at least know why. There better be a reason why you can't do it, and they can, and you can believe that they can. But for me, it's just, I believe in leading from the front. And that's what everything that Gandhi said right there is. He wasn't going to tell this kid to not eating sugar when he was going to go back to eating sugar. So he quit eating sugar so he could be in the same boat with this kid.
Okay,
That
okay. I get what the story. That was the first time I actually hear it. Thank you so much for sharing it. What I got of it is like this. I tell people all the time to go after your dream, to do what it's that you want in life, right? For instance, this is my dream to interview, and I'm doing it, right. And because so many people lack confidence in themselves to actually, because people believe like the authors or CEOs are hard to reach, right? But
mm,
if you keep believing and persisting, you'll get it,
yeah.
what you want. And also, I would like to ask, how can we develop our skills and reflex? Can you give us some training tips?
Uh, I think skills and reflexes, time and root. It's heat and pressure. That's what makes a sharp sword. Is just the more you drill it, the more efficient you're going to be. The more tactile you're going to be. The more reactive. Uh, think about if you think about like you dropping something, and if you're used to, all right, if right now if I had a ball and I'm trying to juggle it, I'm going to drop it. If I'm a juggler, I'm used to that reaction where it's at, and odds are I'll know where to pick up that ball before it hits the ground, because I've drilled that skill set by time and root so much, that I become more and more efficient with it. So I just think time. Obviously, in martial art, there's a lot of other things. There's diet. There's road work. There's rope work. There's a lot of things that can elevate that outside of whatever the God-given gifts you have. You think about. I always thought about Bruce Lee, and you think about how fast he was. Well, if you think about it, a lot of that was God-given, but a lot of it was accelerated by training. And there was a machine in the Inosanto Academy that Bruce Lee had. It was still there when I was there. I have other stories about that, but it was that light reflex thing. You ever hear about that? Like the light would shine and hit, and it would stop, and it would tell you how many tenths of a second you were between the burst of light and the touch of the target. And he had some incredible time, like 900ths of a second, where the average person is, I think, 1800s. But a lot of that was through what he was born with, the attributes he was born with, but a lot of it was through self-development. And that's what I think and I see is like the efficiency of like if I had a stick and I'm going to swing it, I see some people cock back and they'll swing. That's all time. Then I see other guys who just go back like that and they just snap it and they have it. It's because they built that reflex. They built that time within themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that many times when I do like, let's say, sometime if I do like forms or like do kickboxing, I also develop um the reflex. Why is that? And also, I remember back then when I was a kid, I was sparring with my brother, and I developed reflex. How come is why is that? Like, is it like it's the same thing that you say?
Yeah, well, everyone's gonna develop differently, you know, and it's all in the way that you, for one, that the fast twitch muscles are in your body, and the way that you, it comes down to the level of what you're doing and what you like. If you really like something, you're gonna get more and more efficient with it as time goes. You know,
Okay, thank you. I listened to this one of your interview that I watched on the you upload. What is the step and process to mastering any art or becoming a master? And now I read a lot of books on mastery, and they said you can never master anything.
I don't think there's no mastering. You're always gonna learn. You know, I again, I'll go back to my father-in-law. He's probably taking a martial art lesson right now as we speak. You know, until they nail the casket shut, you still got stuff to learn. You know, so
Right.
there's no mastery. I mean, you could say, I have people say, "Oh, Master Balicki," and I'm like, I'm no master, but you know, some people equate it to a trade. Like there's a carpenter, there are apprentice carpenters, you know, there are master carpenters, you know, and you could say, all right, if you want to judge it like that, you may be, but you know, I feel like I have this much knowledge in a world with, you know, an infinite amount of knowledge. I've mastered nothing. I'm still
Right.
working on it. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. I listen. I remember there was a story where I tell the story where when I was a kid, when I was graduating, because I got kicked out of high school, right? And you know, a lot of people say I made a mistake, but I believe that mistakes are truly a mistake if you don't learn from them. But there are my mistake, but there are learning lessons, right? And a lot of people tell me that that don't be like your older brother. But I went to a boarding school, and that was the best of my life. And I was remembering how I got out of I graduated boarding school, and I thought I knew it all, right? But everything just falls apart. You know, my life just falls apart from, you know, my ex broke up with me, and that was the hardest day. But then I learned something, right? That the day that you think you know it all, you don't know. That's the day you learn something. That's why I believe that the most successful people always keep searching or seeking because they know that they don't know everything, right? And I know you see it. Thank you for that so much. Oh, this one I want to actually say. What's the like? I'm into Wing Chun. It's like how, like, you know, what's the difference between Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do? Is it evolved?
Oh, it's a tremendous difference. Wing Chun is only a small part. There are 26 different systems that make up G Kune Do. If you're sticking to just Bruce Lee's format, and you know, it gets the most credit. But if you were to ask me what the base system, and here I go, here's argument time with a lot of people, I would say the base of Jeet Kune Do is actually European fencing. So let me pick you up. I'm going to take you with me. I'm going outside because there's going to be a lot of people coming in here, and I want to have some. Sorry, you're getting to see the outside of my house now. Oh, I hate to do this in the middle of an interview, but
No, that's no
it's
problem.
morning time, so my other sons are going to be coming out, and everybody's coming over. So here we go. This is okay. We're
Yeah,
going
that's okay.
outside.
That's no problem.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Ah, actually, put this up here. Okay. So here we go. The difference between Jeet Kune Do and Wing Chun. Wing Chun is just one system, and Jeet Kune Do is 26 systems. I feel again the base of it is Western fencing. Now Peter Lee was an epee That's my dog who just came over. You're hearing him over by me. Um, Peter Lee, Bruce Lee's brother, was a champion epee fighter, and epee is the foil, and he and Bruce Lee used to spar all the time. But his Grace Lee, Bruce and Peter's mom, wouldn't let him have the swords in the house. They used to hand spar, so they would be at the house and they put their hands up and they would play like fencing, and they would try to score on each other. After a while, they got bored and they started doing double hands. So it got into a trapping situation through fencing. If you look in all of Bruce Lee's writings, he'll put SDA, PIA, a single direct attack, progressive indirect attack. Those are all fencing terms. So there's a lot of fencing, the base of it, the movement's not Wing Chun, the form. I mean, the old days was like this, then it turned into more like a fencer. You research it, you'll see a lot of fencing, and I feel it was more of the base. Everybody knows the hand trapping, it's fun, it's cool, it was so different, but the base of it, I feel, was European fencing.
Thank you so much. Oh, I really love it. And thank you so much for that. What does success look like to you? And then after that, I'll ask one more question and we're done with this.
Okay, what does success look like to me? I think success, I don't know if it has a look, I think it has a feel. It has a different look for every single person. But success for you might just be able to kick back and relax and say the work's done for the day. Success to somebody else might mean, I'm going to get to go to work. Success to some people might be just, like, do I have enough money? Am I making enough money? Again, it's all subject to your feelings, your likes, your wants. I feel right now I'm succeeding. And so I could say I have success in my life. Did I succeed at everything I want? No, but I'm succeeding. I'm still working towards things I haven't gotten to. And I've accomplished a lot of things. I have a family, I have a home, I'm working, so I'm happy right now. That could all change tomorrow, but right now success is just I think it's in the heart.
Thank you so much for that. Where can the people who are interested in what you do or interested in you, where can they find you, online or offline?
Yeah, they can go to ronbalicki.com and find me. I do seminars around the world. I'm in a couple weeks I'm in Texas. I've got to go to France still. I'm going back to the Philippines to film right now. I'm going to be doing some teaching out in the Philippines too. They've asked me. So just ronbalicki.com is the best way, the best
Right.
way to get me, and or Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Reach out. So,
Right.
but Twitter,
Yeah.
I don't know. All the social media ways are best for me.
Right.
So
I would like to take the time to say thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview. You're so kind, and I'm very grateful to you. You know that, like.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad you're into the self-help stuff. I was going to say it earlier, but another man that I like a lot is Wayne Dyer. So check him out if you don't know him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have his books. Oh, Wayne Dyer. Oh my God, this guy, is yeah. I have like a lot of Wayne Dyer. I have all the other people. Brian Tracy.
Yeah, look up Millman also. Like Way of the Peaceful Warrior. It's awesome stuff. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Subscribe to my channel, like my video, and I'll see you
All
guys
right, brother.
later. Brother.
Thank you.
Oh,
Take care.